Hello everybody, and hello Steve.
How you doing?
Another episode of Zacuto Live. This episode is about the A7R series camera cages. And before we get started, let's just bring Rachel in. Rachel is our digital marketing director via Skype from Arizona. Hey Rachel, what do you got for us?
Hey everybody, good morning. I will be following the chat as usual and passing your questions along with the guys. Today's show is about our new cage for the Sony A7III, A7R III, and A9. So we're giving away a free 220 value top handle, which Jens will tell you all about, with every cage purchase until noon on Friday to celebrate. I'm going to put the details in the chat in just a second, and let's get started.
All right, well, let's just start with the basic cage here itself. Let me just show you. This is it right here. Look how small and light it is. I mean, when we started to design this, the whole point to me was to keep that camera small and light, all right, and not add metal where you don't need it. The biggest example of that is on the side here where you have the grip. Let me show you the actual camera.
I mean, this is something that we talk about a lot, which is this sort of lightning issue where if you really look at this thing, it looks like Swiss cheese. I mean, at a certain point when we do the design, we say, okay, what can we now remove to every single piece of metal so that, I mean, this thing literally weighs nothing.
But not just for the sake of it. The nice thing about these cameras, as you can see when I'm holding it here, is this grip. And to operate the camera correctly, I mean, I want my hand on here where my buttons can reach or my fingers can reach all the buttons that you would want to reach, and not have the cage hinder that. Like so many of these cages have that metal on the side and it pushes your hand out, or they even advocate having another grip outside of that, which is just making it bigger, heavier, and more bulky.
Yeah,
so as you can see with this one, there is nothing on the side there, so your hand can grip that camera as it was intended to. And then we have this strap that comes with the cage, by the way, to help you hang on to it so that you can operate the camera instead of hold the camera.
No, I love that. I mean, when I always call that, what do I call that? Parade rest.
Yeah, okay, parade
rest is when you're like, okay, man, I'm just kind of hanging out. We used to do that with beta cams when we had them on our shoulder. You kind of let it fling out like that.
Yep.
But that is something so simple, but yet it's so important. But it becomes a problem with those little eyelets. So why is it that you were able to do that?
Well, another differentiating thing about our cage versus others is that most cages only screw to the bottom of the camera, leaving the top, especially if you have a lot of stuff mounted on the top, heavy stuff like an Inferno or something like that, to be a little maybe wonky. Okay, so what we do that nobody else does is I tap into the eyelets on the camera body. Let's see, maybe I can show you here. See these eyelets that hold the camera straps? This is like right into the chassis of the camera. So through our cage, we put a screw through here and into the cage, so now we have 3 points of screwed contact. So it's solid. I mean, it becomes part of the camera now.
I think you got to rethink how you said that, but we'll move forward.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Before we move on, guys, one of the questions we get about that point in particular is that someone's saying that it takes too long to take the camera in and out of the cage, but that's really the point. It's more solid this way. That was the design, right?
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, some people, want to take them in and out. I don't really get that because this is supposed to protect your cage and be accessory points, to mount your accessories. And we've designed the cage so it's not much bigger than the camera. So really, I don't quite understand why people would want to take it on off.
No, this is an exoskeleton. This is why you want it.
But if you are the person that needs to take it on and off, you can go without those screws there, and then it's like every other cage, just one screw in the bottom. It can be done, so that's one way to do it.
Yeah,
I don't recommend it.
Our whole gripe with a traditional camera like an FS7 or whatever is that there's really not, you're riding on one screw, and that sucks.
Right.
I mean, now you've stuck this thing right into that, so solid.
Exoskeleton.
And we love that.
I like that term.
Exoskeleton.
So let me go through a few of the other unique features to our cage versus others. Is that we have on the top, we designed it so it's completely flat, so you can mount other accessories that you might have already on the top. But I wanted to have a Z-rail coming off going forward that is flush, so you can mount stuff on top, but also mount things like our handle. Here, you can pull that one in too, and people can see.
Now this is unique because, and I got to say, this is all you, man. I didn't come up with this.
This is the free handle Rachel was referring to, by the way.
But what's amazing about this is, here, can you get a close up of this here, John? Is that you sort of dug in. Let me change the angle here. You created these two tracks in here so that which is great. Why does this thing need to be on top of that? It's so great how you did that. Now, the thing that a lot of people don't get is this, obviously the balance thing, which I'm always fighting, but here's the beauty. I got the handle going forward, depending on the type of weight distribution in this camera package, but now I can also flip the handle around this way, and I can support it from the back if need be, depending on the way your camera package is balanced.
And that only works when you have the rail, which we call Z-rail, but it's NATO rail compatible. It only works when it's going forward like that. A lot of cages I see, they have it screwed to the top going sideways, which doesn't make much sense to me at all. In this case, you can see, let me
No, the
just sidetrack a little
sideways
bit.
thing. Now, you could do the sideways
Here's another
thing here
example.
because this could come off, and you can mount a piece of rail. Here, look, you can mount a piece of rail this way. And if you're wanting to do a shot like in Batman, where it's all canted, you know, like the original campy Batman, then you could slide your handle over to the right and you'd be doing some kind of a funky canted shot.
Sure.
And there are times when I want to do that. We have done that before in the history of our work. But for the most part, you're going to want a straight handle like that, and that is just so nice, simple, and easy to get on and off.
Okay, moving on. We're still talking about Z-rail on here. We also put it on the side. I don't know if you can catch a shot of me holding it here. Right here on the side is rail as well, and this is why we wanted to be able to quickly put on our side grip, which comes with the cage, by the way. That's a great added value.
Yeah, that is the coolest part of this. Because, yeah, look at that. Now how you hunker down,
Right.
and you can seriously get a stable shot. Take that handle off.
Yeah, then you're one-handed.
And we're back to the Batman thing, and
Right.
it's a little more wobbly. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
I
how
mean-
do you possibly focus? The second you focus, that thing is going to start turning. So this hunker down concept is important for doing this, what I don't know, we call guerrilla style shooting. And we're going to get into that in a minute, the different styles of shooting.
Right. Okay, so that's the Z-rail on here. Then we also have our pincher. Now, other people have pinchers on here, but ours is, I think this one's unique. It can slide up and down to adjust for little differences in position. What it does is it grabs this right angle adapter so that you can save the plug that's in the camera and use a full-size HDMI cord here, which is nice, and you can just unplug. This just lives on there now
Yeah,
as
but
part of
there's
the
another
camera.
feature you're not talking about. When this baby is in a VCT mode and it's riding on your shoulder, you would have this cable coming into your neck.
Right.
Now you have it going backwards, which is the way you need it.
I'd rather ruin this than the plug in the camera as well. So that's why this, for me, would live on here all the time like
Yeah,
that.
no, it's great.
All right, what am I
Jens,
forgetting?
while you're on this topic, can you just pop that handle back on there? I just want to make sure. So this is the way the cage comes. It comes with the cage,
the
the
other
side
handle.
strap, this
Oh, yes.
the side handle.
Yep.
My bad. It comes. So it's the cage, the side strap, the HDMI little support guy, and this side handle. And you didn't mention there's a shoe mount on top of that as well, which is nice for mics.
Oh, yes, right, on top here.
And you can obviously, we have other cold shoes too that you can mount on various places. And on this handle, now does the cold shoe an accessory, or does that come with this handle?
No, without this loop on the front, there's still a cold shoe on there.
Okay, so in this handle, the top handle, you have another cold shoe. You've got all of the threaded holes, quarter 20s, and there's a couple 3/8/16s, and you can get this optional, the rod lock. And the rod lock is great if you're going to be using an EVF or
Yep.
wanting to mount pretty much it's for an EVF.
Right.
Okay, so let's get back. We didn't talk about the bottom of that cage.
Right, so the bottom of the cage is our dovetail that goes on our VCT base plates and our docks. There's
let's
an
bring this
example
one
right
back.
here.
Oops.
Don't worry, it's got a lifetime warranty.
Thank you. Okay, so let's take a look at what you got cooking here.
Let me just take this off for a minute. All right, so this configuration right now is basically for like a tripod setup. And if I'm kind of on the wrong side to do this, but maybe I can slide it off. Here you see the cage comes off our, I call it a rod block, but what do we officially call it, Rachel? The thing that, for the
It's
rods?
Rod base support.
Right, in case you're going to look it up.
I call it a base plate, so we're just going to call it whatever. Just call it whatever you want, but just get it.
Right. This is mainly so that you can have your rods at the correct distance from the center of the lens to the rods for matte box height and all that. Now, if you're not going to use a matte box, you don't necessarily need that. And you can slide this right onto the dock that's on here, or if you're going handheld, right onto our VCT base plate.
All right, this is a lot of crazy hand movement here. Let's
Hang on.
You got that button?
There we go.
Okay, so now
let me just tighten it here so it doesn't slide off. And then I don't have all the stuff on here, but basically this is...
Well, this handle would come off. Here,
yes.
Flip around this way here. And that's exactly what I was talking about before with, you know, having a cable coming into your head. But this situation is great. Now, obviously, you would need an EVF. So let's slide that in there.
And as you can see, all this is really fast to configure. You know, I did a little haphazardly, but
And
this is basically...
so now, I mean, look at that. It's like you have an E&G camera, basically. Put some batteries back here if you want. Or now, in this case, I would actually mount, if you're going to use an Inferno or something like that, I would mount it back here because you've got an EVF and you don't need to see it in VCT mode. We'll talk about these various different modes in a minute.
Here's a photo.
Oh, yeah, this is great. Okay, so like here's an E&G mode. You can see it's got a Z drive because you need to pull the focus forward in this case. Otherwise, look at where your hand would have to be. In order for this to be balanced, that camera is sitting directly over your shoulder. And if you want an all-day shooter, you know how I feel about balance. What else do you got there, Ryan? Okay, this is a front view. Now, here you can see that it has the trigger grip, so you can adjust that quickly. And you can pull the tornado off and flip the trigger grip up, and that baby will go right into a caser on in the back seat of your car or whatever. What else do you got? Okay, this is a little different. This is more of sort of a tripod configuration where you have the rod adapter and you're using more of a traditional follow focus. And I mean, this is like a little cinema camera when you look at it. I mean, these cameras are pretty powerful, especially when you use this audio adapter, which we'll put on in a minute. Let's go to the next photo. Okay, now this is a little different. In this situation, you're actually going to have it on your shoulder, have one hand in your grip, and you're going to have to reach back a little bit to hold the lens, but this is sort of more what we're accustomed to in an E&G shooting camera setup. Okie doke. All right, so let's take a look at what we got here. This thing I love, man. This is what makes this a camera.
Yeah, a real camera because of your XLR.
Oh yeah, I mean you're doing audio. This is the real deal.
So let me put this on. I mean the other huge consideration for making this cage is not to block that hot shoe. A lot of people use the hot shoe to anchor their cages, but then you've lost the use of this audio adapter.
What's so amazing here is that by using this hot shoe, you've tied directly into the camera, and basically you've changed the whole nature of the camera to have XLR inputs without having to actually go into a mini plug, which is unbalanced. And now you've added this little extension that you can buy right here.
Yeah, so you
and
can
look
still
at
have a
this.
handle.
And now here you've got an actual camera that you can grab. You've got a mic. I mean, this is a docu setup. Here, let's show them how we've been using this thing, and now we'll talk about these various different modes. So,
right. Well, just one thing to point out before you get into that is, let me just show you here. So this handle would probably be here. Now, as you can see, a lot of these cages have their cold shoes on the top of the cage, right about where my finger is. Obviously, that'll be in the way of the XLRs and all that. That's one reason why I put the cold shoe on the top of our handle over here.
and here.
And yeah, and on the handle.
Because if you wanted to put the mic up here, there would be no problem. Or if you want to put an Obi light or something like that up there, it's fine that it's a little farther back. It's not going to matter. Oh wow, I didn't even think about that.
I mean, with a heavier lens, you could even drop that down and have that in front. If you've got a big lens on there,
I didn't even think about that.
then you can stick that around like.
Well, can you actually go back to the other handle in this configuration?
You could.
Probably, yeah.
You could.
Okay, so let's talk about this Gorilla
Before
stuff.
we,
Yeah.
guys, before we jump over into that, let's just go over just a couple more accessories. We've got a pretty cool mount for the Atomos Inferno, and there's some Metabones mount options.
Oh yeah,
for the lenses.
that's actually on here right now, right? On the camera at the moment is a Metabones adapter. Not sure exactly which one, but we have mounts for every one of them. Let me tilt this back so you can kind of see underneath. On our cage, not on the rod block below it, but on the cage itself is where the Metabones adapter sits, so that so that it's anchored into the cage and it won't, rotate and be loose like it would ordinarily be if you
that's
didn't anchor it.
necessary because if you want to eject your camera and go guerrilla shooting without rods, you need to be quick about that. So
Right.
just really quickly, if you eject this thing, now the
goes with
metabones is still here.
Yeah,
So-
there's many other companies that have it attached to this part down here, and then you're screwed.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to have this go with you, which you don't necessarily want.
So we were talking about these different modes of shooting. So one of the modes that we're starting to use these cameras now. So, the design of this cage was for us. So I hope you like it because
Well, us as shooters, yeah.
as shooters, you're using this for doing docu work. I mean, it's to the point now where the picture quality in this thing is so amazing. It's so small. We have audio. You can put a wireless on here. It's like, why are we even needing a big camera if we're doing this guerrilla style shooting? Now, if we want to go to a VCT style shooting, let's grab the VCT. That's a different deal. That's your sort of all-day shooter, and the camera would be like this, like those photos that we saw, and it has a different aesthetic. People need to understand that here, let me give you that. The difference between guerrilla shooting, which is fine, but again, you have to kind of set the camera a little bit more in an infinity or know exactly where your focus is because you got shallow depth of field here. Versus the shoulder flavor, which is like 95% of what I see on television today, which is more of a sort of sense of urgency. I'm part of the scene kind of feel. This is like, I'm your boxing scene. I love that. It's really cool. So there's a very different aesthetic, but we've built this so that it can move between these two aesthetics.
Right, fit quickly.
So let's take a look at the Inferno here.
All right, so another huge request that we got from the very beginning is to make a mount for the very popular recorders. This one is the Shogun Inferno in particular. And that simply, again, attaches to the Z-rail in a little different way. It screws onto the top, but it uses the rail to make it so it's anti-twist, okay? And now,
love that. Let's show the anti-twist. That's our thing, man. I can't stand. Well, we started with our articulating arms with anti-twist, but the way that you built this on the rail, where it has these little stoppers, there's no way this thing can ever twist. And I know this was a sort of a Dan Chung thing. He originally said that you guys got to build this so that I can guerrilla shoot with this.
Take a look underneath here. We also have it shaped to the bottom of the monitor so it can't twist up top. Plus, we're screwing in not only with the quarter 20, but into the body with additional screws. So there's no way this thing is moving. We're talking rock solid here.
Yeah, it's kind of cool if you want to shoot with a monitor.
This can also be slid back and aimed down so that you can,
That's a big deal.
There's different positions.
There are
you can have
times when you need to do this to get over a crowd. So
right, exactly.
Okay, Rachel, I think we've covered all the features here.
A couple of just general FAQs that we get on our GH5 cage that would definitely translate over to here. One is, so we've just shown how an Inferno would mount on here. Jens, how would you mount just a regular monitor with a quarter 20 screw?
There's a variety of ways. We do have a mount that, are you talking about a quarter 20 screw on the bottom of the monitor?
Yeah, or the back. Just, would you use an arm? Just
Well,
for a regular monitor?
we have a new part, okay, that is Z-rail again, okay, but it's really short and it has a lip on it so that when you butt it up against the monitor's edge and you tighten the screw, it won't turn. All right, and then it's a very similar mount to this one here, where it pivots down here. All right, but it has the clamp for the Z-rail here, and then the clamp for the Z-rail on the bottom.
Yeah, and again, the idea, and it has
That's
a quick
coming.
release. It has a quick release, and the idea is that you can make. I never understood this whole Noga arm thing. It bothered us 10 years ago. It bothered us 25 years ago. What am I saying?
Well,
because of the problem that. The second here, we know you're my DP for 30 some odd years. What do? I walk up to that camera.
Yeah, and you turn it so you can see it, and then it gets loose or
yeah,
moved
because
out
it's
of the
set
place.
for you. And then when I want to shoot, I turn it to me, and then you're like, and you would get angry as hell.
But normally but after a few, okay, that might be all right, but it gets loose after time, and then it ends up spinning, and then there's fear of it falling. It's just
right.
And they're big and bulky and heavy. So
here, Ryan, go through a couple of those pictures that you have of people using it with the Inferno here. So
It seems big, but for having a recorder and a nice big monitor like that in Gorilla Style, this is really a nice way to use this.
yeah, I don't know about the whole follow focus there. That's a whole lot going on, but he probably needs it actually. Here's another. I would stick that baby on my knee. Would be a great way to shoot with that. Let's go to the next picture.
You can see how the strap is working well for him there as well.
Yep, this is nice. Yep. There you go. Okay, Rachel.
Yeah, one last FAQ. Can you use this with a Z finder? How would you mount a Z finder at the back?
You can, but I don't really know why you'd want to, because the viewfinder in the camera itself is quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, really, the viewfinder to me, for our use, would be more for E&G shooting on your shoulder. But
No, she means
no, I know. But
Oh,
in
okay.
gorilla
The
mode,
Z-finder.
in gorilla mode, you
Right.
could, if you take this off and put the handle on there backwards, you can easily mount an EVF. So where's the short handle? It's right there. You know, with the loop, you could either do it this way, or you would do it this way. and
you're
you
saying in lieu of a Z finder on the back screen. That's what she's referring to.
yeah, I mean, I would use an EVF, but I mean,
We have stick-on screens, but this screen moves. It's just not a good idea with this particular camera.
and the resolution
You know.
isn't nearly as good as the. This is an OLED 2.5
Right, the
million
built-in
pixels.
viewfinder.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but there are ways we can do it. It's just a little more difficult. you
Yeah.
know. But by the way, since you mentioned the GH5, all the features we're talking about here on this cage are the same on the GH5 and will be for future cameras as well. So
Yeah, I mean, what more can you do? I mean, we basically
think of
thought of.
something.
Well, no, I know, but I mean, we basically thought of everything that we need, and
and
for
that was a
us,
problem, right?
Now, somebody brought up a question, you know, that well, it didn't have this or it didn't have that. Well, you know what? Then this one ain't for you.
Yeah, well,
you know,
right.
we build the stuff so that it works for us as filmmakers.
And for the majority of the people out there, because
You
I
know.
listened to a lot of requests as well and saw what the problems were with other cages and tried to solve it. So here it is.
Okay.
Rachel?
Okay.
Anything
Thanks,
else?
you guys. Thank you. No, you guys covered everything. Thank you for joining us, to everybody watching, and a big thank you to our sponsor, ICANN, who provided all the lighting for the show. The Sony Cage is available now at store.zacuto.com and with all of our dealers. For 48 hours only on our store, we're giving away a free $220 value top handle with every cage purchase. You can use the coupon EP8 free top handle and it will be automatically added to your order. I'm going to put all the details in the chat right now. So happy shopping. Next week, we will be talking with our special guest, Mick Jones, who runs Filthy Look Films in Australia, about how to run a successful production company. So we'll see you there. Bye-bye.